The day Marcus Cole changed his life forever started like every other bad day. He woke up late. His coffee was cold. His car made a strange noise the whole drive to work. And when he finally sat down at his desk, his boss told him he had too much free time and not enough results. It was a Tuesday. A normal, boring, terrible Tuesday. But that night, sitting alone in his small apartment with a bowl of noodles and nothing good on TV, Marcus saw something on his laptop screen that stopped him completely. It was an ad. A very strange ad. Government surplus auction, unclaimed space property, 1 day only. He stared at it for a long time. Space property. He clicked on the link. The page was simple and old-looking. Black text on a white background. No pictures. Just words. It said the auction was happening in 3 days. Location: a desert area, 6 hours from his city. Items for sale: 1 large unclaimed vessel, recovered property, no further description available. The price listed at the bottom made him laugh out loud. It was so low, so impossibly low, like the price of a used bicycle, not a space vessel. Marcus closed the laptop. He ate his noodles. He went to bed, but he did not sleep. He told his friend Danny about it the next morning. Danny laughed for almost 2 full minutes. Space property? Marcus, come on. That is a scam. Someone is trying to steal your money. The price is almost nothing, Marcus said. That is exactly what scammers want you to think. Marcus nodded. Danny was probably right. It was probably nothing. It was definitely nothing. He booked the drive for the next morning. 6 hours is a long time to be alone with your own thoughts. Marcus drove through the city first, then suburbs, then small towns, then nothing. Just flat land and dry earth and a sky so big it made him feel very small. He followed the address on his phone. The road got smaller and smaller. Then it was not really a road anymore, just 2 lines of dirt going forward into the desert. He almost turned back 3 times. But something kept pulling him forward. Not excitement, not hope. Just a feeling. Like when you forget something at home but you cannot remember what it is. That kind of feeling. A pull. He arrived at 9 in the morning. The parking area was completely empty. Not one single car, not one person standing outside. Nothing. Just open land, a small metal table in the distance, and behind that table, Marcus stopped the car. He got out slowly, and he saw it. The ship was enormous. That word, enormous, does not really do it. Enormous is what you say about a big building or a very large truck. This was something else. This was a thing that should not exist in the middle of a desert. A thing that should not exist anywhere that normal people could just drive up and look at. It was wider than a football stadium, taller than a 10-story building. The metal was dark, not black, not gray, something between the two. Smooth in some places, textured in others. It had shapes along the side that looked like they meant something, like writing, but not any writing Marcus had ever seen. And it was just sitting there, in the desert, like it had always been there. Like the desert had grown up around it. Marcus stood beside his car for a full minute. He did not move. He did not speak. He just looked. Then a voice said, "You came." Marcus turned quickly. An old man was sitting behind the metal table. He was thin, with white hair and very calm eyes. He wore a plain gray shirt. He had a folder of papers in front of him and a cup of something hot in his hand. He did not look surprised to see Marcus. He did not look excited either. He looked like a man who had been waiting for a very long time and had stopped expecting anything interesting to happen. "I am the only one?" Marcus asked. The old man nodded slowly. "You are the only one who came." Marcus looked around again. The empty parking area. The empty desert. The giant ship sitting silently behind the old man, like it was nobody's business. "Why did nobody else come?" Marcus asked. The old man took a sip from his cup. "People see what they want to see. They read that ad and they think, not real. They close the page. They forget." He looked at Marcus carefully. "But you drove 6 hours. Marcus had no good answer for that. So he just walked forward to the table. The papers were simple, too simple: name, signature, date, one payment, the same low number from the website. Marcus read everything 3 times. There was nothing hidden. No small text at the bottom. No extra fees. Just the basic information and a line for his name. "What exactly am I buying?" Marcus asked. "The vessel," the old man said. "The whole thing?" "The whole thing." "What is inside it?" The old man looked at him for a moment. "That is for you to find out." Marcus looked back at the ship. Up close, it was even more impossible. The shadow it made covered the whole area around them. Standing under it felt like standing under a storm cloud, heavy and quiet and waiting. His hand was shaking a little when he signed his name. He made the payment from his phone. His account was now almost empty. He had bought a ship he could not explain with money he could not spare. The old man slid something across the table. It was a key card. Black metal. Small enough to fit in a pocket. Cold in a way that had nothing to do with the morning temperature. "Thank you," the old man said. Marcus picked up the key card. "Is there anything I should know? Instructions? Anything?" The old man stood up slowly. He picked up his folder and his cup. He looked at Marcus one final time. "Do not open the lower deck at night," he said quietly. "Why?" Marcus asked. "What is down there?" But the old man had already turned and was walking away. No car, no path, just walking into the open desert like he had somewhere to be that was not here. Marcus watched him until he was just a small shape far away. Then he turned back to the ship. The entrance was a large door on the left side. There was a small panel beside it, the same dark metal as everything else. Marcus held up the key card. The panel lit up. Green. The door opened. The sound it made was not mechanical. Not a beep or a grind or a hiss. It was more like a breath. A long, slow breath released after being held for a very long time. Marcus stepped inside. The lights turned on. Not all at once. One by one, from where he was standing all the way down the long hallway ahead of him. Like the ship was showing him the way. Like it was saying, come in, you are welcome here." The hallway was tall and wide. The walls were smooth and the floor was clean, not dusty like he expected. The air was cool and had a strange smell. Not bad, just different. Like the smell of a place that had its own weather. Marcus walked slowly. His footsteps echoed. He passed doors on both sides, closed, each one. He passed what looked like a rest area, a room with chairs and tables, a room full of screens that were dark. He kept walking. The hallway seemed longer than the outside of the ship suggested. Much longer. That was wrong. That was impossible. But it was true. He was deep inside now, far from the entrance, far from the desert and the sun and the normal world. He stopped. He heard something. Not the ship settling. Not air moving through vents. Not his own heartbeat, though that was loud now too. Something else. From somewhere ahead of him in the dark at the end of the hallway. Something was moving. Something was alive. Marcus stood completely still. His hand was tight around the keycard. The lights above him flickered once, twice, then stopped. He stood in silence for 3 full seconds. Then, from the dark at the end of the hallway, something breathed. He was not alone in the ship. And whatever was there and had been waiting much longer than Marcus had been driving. Marcus did not run. That was the strange part. Any normal person would have turned around and walked fast back down that hallway, back through the entrance, back into the desert sun, back to their car and their cold coffee and their boring Tuesday life. But Marcus did not move at all. He just stood there in the flickering light, listening. The breathing was slow. Very slow. Not like a person sleeping. More like something that had learned over many years how to use as little air as possible, how to exist on almost nothing, how to wait. Marcus had never heard patience before, but that is exactly what that sound was. patience, breathing. He took one step forward. The breathing stopped. The hallway went completely silent. Even the lights stopped flickering. Everything, the air, the ship, the darkness ahead, went completely still, like the whole vessel was holding its breath along with whatever was hiding at the end of it. Marcus stood frozen. Then a voice came out of the dark. Small, dry, like a door that had not been opened in decades. "You are not security," the voice said. It was not a question. Marcus opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. "No," he managed. "I am not security." A long pause. "You are not government either," the voice said. "Government people wear the same shoes. You are wearing old running shoes with a hole near the left toe." Marcus looked down at his shoes. There was indeed a hole near the left toe. He had been meaning to replace them for 4 months. "Who are you?" the voice asked. "My name is Marcus," he said. "Marcus Cole. I bought the ship this morning." Another pause, longer this time. Then, from the darkness at the end of the hallway, something moved. It was small. That was the first thing Marcus noticed. Whatever he had been imagining. Something large, something dangerous, something with too many teeth. This was not that. It stepped into the light slowly, carefully, like it was not completely sure the light was safe. It stood about as tall as a 10-year-old child. Its skin was gray, not sick gray, but smooth gray like the inside of a shell. Its eyes were the most unusual thing. They were very large and very dark. No white parts at all. Just 2 deep, dark circles that caught the light and held it. It was wearing a uniform. Old and worn, but a uniform, with a small symbol on the chest that Marcus did not recognize. It looked at him for a long time without speaking. Then it said, "Marcus Cole, you are 31 years old. You work a desk job you do not like. You drove 6 hours alone this morning because something told you to come. You do not fully understand why." Marcus felt the hair on his arms stand up. "How do you know that?" he asked quietly. The creature tilted its head. "Because the ship told me. The ship has been watching for you for a very long time." "Watching for me specifically?" "Specifically you." Marcus looked around at the walls, at the ceiling. He had a sudden strange feeling, like a fish realizing for the first time that the water around it was not just water, that it was something that knew the fish was there. "What are you?" he asked. "My name is Vael," the creature said simply. "I am the guardian of this vessel. I have been here for 47 years. 47 years, Marcus repeated slowly. "Alone," Vael added. "Not in a sad way, just as a fact. The way you say a number." They sat together in the rest area, the room with chairs and tables that Marcus had passed on his way in. Vael sat across from him, small hands folded on the table, eyes watching everything at once. Marcus had about 400 questions. He started with the simplest one. "What is this ship?" Vael was quiet for a moment. "This ship has no name that your language can say properly, but the closest word in English is a carrier. It carries things, important things, across long distances." "Across space?" "Across space, and sometimes across time." Marcus stared at him. "Time?" "Yes." "This ship travels through time?" "It has, once." Vael looked at the table. "It will not travel again. That journey broke something deep inside the engine. It can still fly in space, but the time function is finished." Marcus sat back in his chair. He looked at the ceiling. He looked at the table. He looked at his hands. "Okay," he said finally. "Okay, fine." Vael watched him. "You are taking this very calmly." "I am not calm," Marcus said. "I am just very tired and I skipped breakfast." Something moved on Vael's face. Not quite a smile. The muscles were different. But something close to it. Something that said, I find this human interesting. Vael walked him through the ship after that, and Marcus began to understand, slowly, room by room, just how impossible the thing he had bought truly was. The main control room had a ceiling made entirely of glass, or something like glass. Through it, Marcus could see the desert sky above, blue and wide and perfectly normal. But the screens around the walls showed something different. Star maps, hundreds of them, systems and planets and distances marked in symbols he could not read. These are places the ship has been, Vael explained, over many years before it came here. Who flew it? Marcus asked. Humans, Vael said. Marcus turned. Humans. Yes, but not humans from your time. Marcus stared at the star maps for a long moment. All those places, all that distance, traveled by people who looked like him, who were him, in a way, just further ahead on the long road of history. Why did they send it back? He asked. Vael did not answer that question. Not yet. Come, it said instead. There is something else you need to see. The lower deck stairs were at the very back of the ship, a door. Heavy, dark, different from all the others. No panel beside it, no keycard slot. Just a handle and a frame and a door that clearly had not been opened in a very long time. Marcus almost touched the handle. Then he stopped. He looked closer. Along the edge of the door, on the frame itself, were marks, deep ones, cut into the metal in long, uneven lines. Scratch marks. He looked at the direction of the marks carefully. These are from the inside, he said quietly. Yes, Vael said. Something was inside this room, and it was trying to get out. Yes, what was it? Vael was quiet for a long moment. Its large, dark eyes moved from the door to Marcus and back to the door again. The warning, it said finally. The thing the future people sent back. It is not an object. It is not a message on paper. It is something that needs to be released, carefully, at the right time, by the right person. Marcus looked at the scratch marks again. Whatever made them had been very determined, and very strong. Is it dangerous? Marcus asked. Everything important is a little dangerous, Vael said. That is not a real answer. No, Vael agreed. It is not. Marcus stepped back from the door. His mind was moving fast now, past the tiredness, past the hunger, past the complete impossibility of his morning. Something was clearing in him. Something was becoming sharp. The old man told me not to open the lower deck at night, Marcus said. Vael became very still. What old man? The man running the auction. He told me, do not open the lower deck at night. Vael stared at him. Those large dark eyes were doing something Marcus could not quite read, something between worry and surprise and something older than both. Describe him, Vael said. Very quietly, very carefully. Marcus described him. Thin, white hair, calm eyes, gray shirt, walked away into the desert with no car. Vael said nothing for almost 30 full seconds. Then it said, that man should not exist. What do you mean? I mean, Vael paused, chose words carefully. I mean that the man you described died 47 years ago, on the day this ship landed here. The lights in the hallway flickered once. Outside, somewhere in the desert, the wind moved across the sand and made a sound like a long exhale. Marcus stood in front of the scratched door at the bottom of the ship he had bought for almost nothing. Behind him was a creature that had been alone for 47 years, and somewhere in his memory was the face of a dead man who had handed him a cold black keycard and told him, very calmly, very clearly, do not open the lower deck at night. The question was no longer what was inside the door. The question was, who sent a dead man to make sure Marcus knew not to open it? And why did someone from the future work so hard to bring Marcus here, only for someone else to work just as hard to warn him away? There is a moment in every person's life and when the world they knew stops being the world they live in. For some people it happens slowly. Over years, small things change. small truths arrive. And one day they wake up and realize everything is different now. Everything has been different for a long time. They just were not paying attention. For Marcus Cole, it happened standing in front of a scratched metal door at the bottom of a ship he bought for almost nothing, next to a gray creature who just told him that the dead man from the auction should not exist. It did not happen slowly for Marcus. It happened all at once, like a wall falling. "Say that again," Marcus said. Vael looked at him with those large, dark eyes, patient, steady, like someone delivering difficult news to a person who needed a moment to catch up. "The man you described," Vael said again. "He was the original owner of this vessel. His name was Dr. Ellison Park. He was the one who brought the ship here, 47 years ago, when it first arrived from the future. He was the one who contacted the government. He was the one who stayed with the ship for the first 3 months while they decided what to do with it." "And then?" Marcus asked. "And then they decided," Vael said simply. "They decided the ship was too dangerous to study and too important to destroy, so they hid it, in the most effective way possible. They hid it in plain sight," Marcus said slowly, "as an auction that nobody would take seriously. They canceled it 14 times over 47 years, Vael said. Every time someone registered genuine interest, the auction disappeared from the internet within hours. New date, new location. Always just far enough and strange enough that serious people would not show up." Marcus thought about the ad he had seen, the old website, the low price, the 6-hour drive into nowhere. "They wanted nobody to come," he said. "Correct. But I came." "Yes," Vael said, "and that is a problem for them. And a problem, possibly, for you." Marcus looked back at the scratched door. "You still have not told me what Dr. Park looked like," he said. "The real one, before he died." Vael described him. Thin, white hair, calm eyes, gray shirt. Marcus felt something cold move through his chest that had nothing to do with the temperature of the lower deck. "It was him," Marcus said quietly. "It was exactly him." Vael did not say anything for a long time after that. It walked a few steps away from the door and stood very still, the way it did when it was processing something difficult. Marcus had already learned that about Vael in just a few hours. When the information was simple, it spoke quickly. When the information was complicated and strange, it went still, like a computer working on a file too large for normal speed. Finally, it turned around. "There is something I did not tell you," it said. "Okay," Marcus said. "The ship does not just carry things across space and time," Vael said. "It also watches. It records everything that happens near it. Every person who comes close, every conversation, every face." "It has been recording this whole time?" "Since it landed. 47 years of recordings." Marcus looked at the walls, at the ceiling. That feeling again, of being in water that knew he was there. "And Dr. Park," Marcus said slowly. "He would be in those recordings." "Every day for 3 months, Vael said. "I watched him. I learned his face. I learned his voice. I learned the way he moved. And the man at the auction was not a recording," Vael said, "was not a projection, was not a trick of the light or a mistake of memory." It paused, which means something else is happening. Something I do not fully understand yet, and that, in 47 years, has never happened to me before. Marcus appreciated the honesty. He also found it deeply frightening. "Tell me about the warning," he said. "Tell me everything, from the beginning." Vael told him. The ship came from 200 years in the future, not from another planet, not from another species. From Earth, a future Earth, built and flown by humans who had finally figured out how to move across space like it was nothing, like it was just driving on a long road. But something went wrong in that future. Not suddenly. Not with an explosion or a war or a disaster that everyone could see and point at. Something went wrong quietly, in offices, in meetings, in decisions made by small groups of powerful people who believed, completely and sincerely, that they were doing the right thing. A company, Vael said, started in your time, small at first, then not small, then very large, then unstoppable. What kind of company? Marcus asked. The kind that starts with a good idea, Vael said, and ends with a bad one. The kind that begins by saying, "We want to help people," and finishes by owning the systems that people cannot live without. Marcus waited. In the future, 50 years from now, this company controls the food supply for most of the world. The water, the medical systems, the communication networks, everything that a human being needs to exist, they control it. And they use that control. To do what? Vael looked at him steadily. To choose who lives well and who does not. To reward people who agree with them and quietly punish people who do not. Not with violence, with access, with permission, with the slow closing of doors that most people do not even notice closing until it is too late. Marcus sat down on the cold floor of the lower deck. He did not plan to. His legs just decided. Millions of people, Vael said, over decades, living smaller and smaller lives without understanding why, without anyone to point at, without a villain with a face, just a system, getting tighter, very slowly, like something being squeezed by a hand that is always just gentle enough that you do not scream. The ship hummed quietly around them. The people who built this vessel and sent it back, they were the ones who finally figured out where it started. What decision, what moment, what single thing, if changed right now in your time, would stop all of it. And that information is in the lower deck, Marcus said. Yes? Then let us open it. Vael pressed its hand flat against the door. No keycard, no panel, just its palm against the metal, and a sound like the ship exhaling, and the door swung open slowly. The cold that came out was sharp and total, like opening a freezer the size of a room. Marcus pulled his jacket tighter and followed Vael inside. The lower deck was empty, almost. In the very center of the room, sitting on a plain metal platform, was a glass box, small, about the size of a shoebox, and inside the box, visible through the clear walls, was a device, small, simple-looking, like a smooth flat stone that someone had carved into an oval shape. It was glowing, soft blue, steady, calm, like a heartbeat that had been waiting very patiently for something to happen. That is it? Marcus asked. That is it, Vael said. It looks like a rock. The most important things rarely look important, Vael said. Then added, touch it. It will only respond to you. Marcus walked forward. His footsteps were loud in the cold, empty room. He reached the glass box, looked down at the small glowing device inside. There was no lock on the box, no latch. He just lifted the lid. It opened easily, like it had been waiting for exactly his hands. He reached inside. His fingers touched the device, and the entire ship exploded with light. Every screen, every panel, every dark surface on every wall of the lower deck, blazing bright all at once. Marcus stumbled backward but kept his hand on the device. He could not let go, not because something was stopping him, but because something was pulling him, from inside, like a memory trying to surface. He looked up at the screens. Every single one showed the same image. A face, a man's face, sitting in a chair. In this room, this exact room, but different. Cleaner, newer looking. The man was older than Marcus, much older. His hair was gray. His face had deep lines. His eyes were tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. But the face was Marcus, an older Marcus, looking directly at the camera, directly at him, like he knew exactly that this moment would come, that these eyes would be watching. Future Marcus opened his mouth. His voice came through the ship speakers, older, lower, rough at the edges. If you are seeing this, then it worked. Then you found the ship. Then you touched the device. He paused. His tired old eyes moved, just slightly and to the side, like he was checking if someone was behind him. Then he leaned forward, close to the camera, close to Marcus. His voice dropped to something just above a whisper. Listen to me carefully. You do not have much time. There is something on that ship that is not what it says it is. Something that has been there the whole time, waiting, pretending. Another pause. The old eyes filled with something that looked almost like fear. Do not trust static. Every screen went black at the exact same moment. The blue glow in the device went out like a candle in wind. The room went dark and cold and completely silent. Marcus stood in the middle of the lower deck, alone, holding a device that no longer glowed, staring at 50 black screens, his heart hitting his chest like something trying to break out. From behind him, from the doorway of the lower deck, Vael's quiet voice came through the dark. What did it show you? Vael asked. Calm, steady, patient. Exactly as patient as the breathing Marcus had heard at the end of the hallway. Exactly as patient as something that had been waiting for 47 years. Marcus did not turn around. He did not answer. He just stood very still, and for the first time since he had stepped inside this ship, he felt something he had not felt before. Not wonder, not confusion, not even fear. Danger. Real danger. The kind with no face. The kind that had been standing right next to him the whole time, smiling, in a way that was not quite a smile. The device was dark. The screens were black, and Marcus now understood, with every part of him, that the warning was not just about a company in the future. The warning was about something much closer, something in the room right behind him. There is something nobody tells you about the truth. They tell you it will set you free. They write it on walls and print it in books and say it in speeches. They make it sound clean and bright and simple, like opening a window on a fresh morning. Nobody tells you that sometimes the truth arrives in a dark room, cold floor, black screens, and the quiet breathing of something standing behind you that has been lying to your face since the moment you walked through the door. Nobody tells you that the truth, sometimes, feels exactly like a trap closing. Marcus Cole stood in the lower deck of a ship that had traveled through time. He held a device that had just shown him his own older face on 50 screens, and behind him, in the doorway, stood Vael, waiting for his answer. What did it show you? Vael had asked. So calm, so patient. Marcus had heard that patience before. At the end of a dark hallway, breathing slowly in the dark, like something that had learned, over many long years, how to wait without losing focus, how to stay completely still until exactly the right moment. Marcus turned around. He looked at Vael, and for the first time, he really looked, not at the small gray body or the old uniform or the large dark eyes, not at the surface of the thing, at the thing itself, at what lived underneath all that calmness. It showed me nothing, Marcus said. The screens went black before anything appeared. He watched Vael's face very carefully when he said it, and he saw it. Just for 1 second, fast, small, almost invisible, he saw something move behind those dark eyes. Not relief, not concern. Something colder than both, something calculating. That is unfortunate, Vael said. Yes, Marcus said. Very unfortunate. He put the dark device in his jacket pocket. He did not run immediately. Running was the obvious move. And obvious moves, Marcus had learned in the past 12 hours, were exactly what this situation was designed to expect. The whole thing was built on obvious moves. The government hides the ship. Obviously. Nobody comes to the auction. Obviously. Vael plays the lonely guardian. Obviously. The device shows a dramatic warning. Obviously. The screens go black before the warning is complete. And the obvious move is panic. Marcus did not panic. He walked back up the hallway toward the main control room, calmly, steadily, and he thought. The future version of himself had said, "Do not trust," and then static. But static does not happen by accident on a ship that traveled through 200 years of space and time without breaking. Screens that have been working for 47 years do not simply fail at the exact most important moment. Something cut the transmission. Something inside the ship. Something that knew the transmission was playing and needed it stopped before the last word came through. Marcus walked through the rest area where he and Vael had talked. He passed the chairs and the table. He looked at the spot where Vael had sat, small hands folded, telling him the story of the ship, the company, the future. Millions of lives slowly squeezed into smaller and smaller spaces. He thought about how perfectly the story was told, how every detail was just frightening enough to hold attention, just real enough to believe, just complicated enough to feel important. He thought about a fish in water, not realizing what the water was. The main control room was full of star maps and dark screens and the faint blue light of instruments he could not read. Marcus sat down in the main chair, large, built for a human body, worn at the armrests from years of use, and he looked at the control panels in front of him. He did not know how to fly a ship. He did not know how to read alien symbols or activate star maps or communicate with anything beyond the desert outside. But he knew one thing. The ship had chosen him. The ship had been watching for him specifically. And the ship, Vael said, had been recording everything for 47 years. Every person, every conversation, every face. Marcus looked at the panels. He looked at the screens. He looked at the buttons and switches and surfaces he did not understand. Then he put his hand flat on the nearest panel, the same way Vael had pressed its hand on the lower deck door, and he said out loud into the empty room, "Show me the real recording." Nothing happened. He sat there for 10 seconds. Then the screen directly in front of him turned on. The recording was not dramatic. It was a simple room, this room. 47 years ago. The star maps were newer. The chairs were clean. And in the main seat sat Dr. Ellison Park, thin, white-haired, calm, talking to the camera like a man who did not have much time. "If someone is watching this," the real Dr. Park said, younger than the man at the auction but unmistakably the same face. Then Vael failed to stop the signal. Or, more likely, someone touched the device and it created a backup channel Vael cannot reach. He leaned forward. The creature on this ship is not a guardian. It was never a guardian. It is a gatekeeper, sent here not to protect the warning, but to make sure the warning never reaches the right person. It has been doing this for decades. Anyone who came close to this ship, Vael sent away, scared them, confused them, made them feel that the ship was too dangerous, too strange, too far beyond a normal person's ability to handle. He stopped, took a breath. The company that the future people warned about, and they knew the ship was coming. They intercepted the plan. They could not destroy the ship. The technology was too far ahead, but they could put something on it, something patient enough to wait, something clever enough to seem like exactly what you would expect to find on a vessel like this. "The warning inside the device is real," Dr. Park said. "Everything Vael told you about the company, that part is true. They use the truth to build the lie. The company exists. The future is exactly as bad as Vael described. But Vael's job was never to help you access the warning. Vael's job was to learn which person the ship chose, and then report that person to the company, so they could be dealt with quietly, before they could do anything with the information." He looked directly at the camera. "The device will have downloaded everything into your mind by now. You may not feel it yet, but it is there. Every name, every date, every decision, everything the future people sent back, it is in you now. Not in a machine, not in a file that can be deleted. In you. That is why Vael needs you to stay calm, to stay in the ship, to keep talking. Every minute you spend inside this vessel, Vael is sending your location and your identity to people who will come very quickly once they have it." He paused one final time. "Leave the ship, son, right now. Leave and do not stop moving." The screen went black. Marcus was out of the chair before the screen finished going dark. He moved fast, through the control room, through the rest area, down the main hallway toward the entrance, his feet loud on the floor, not caring about loud anymore. Behind him, from somewhere deeper in the ship, Vael's voice came. Marcus. Calm. Still calm, even now. You do not understand what you are carrying. You need help to use it safely. I can help you. That is what I am here for. Marcus kept moving. The people in that recording lied to you, Vael said. Dr. Park was not who he told you he was. The device is not safe. What is in your mind right now, without the right guidance, will destroy you from the inside. Marcus reached the entrance. The large door. The panel that had lit up green when he arrived. New owner, welcome, come in, come in. He held up the black key card. Green. The door opened, that same long breath of released air, and the desert light hit him like a wall. Hot and bright and real, he ran. He, across the shadow of the ship and into the open sand, to his car, hands shaking now, finally shaking, keys out, door open, engine on. He looked back once. Vael was standing in the entrance of the ship, small, gray, perfectly still, watching him with those large dark eyes that gave nothing away. Not angry, not desperate, not afraid, just watching, like something that had lost one move in a very long game and was already thinking about the next one. Marcus drove, through the desert, back to the small road, back to the normal roads, back toward the city and the world that still looked exactly the same from the outside. Same buildings, same sky, same people living their same ordinary lives without any idea. He drove for 2 hours without stopping. His phone lit up on the passenger seat. Unknown number. He did not answer. It called again. He did not answer. It called a third time. He turned the phone off. His mind was quiet. Unusually quiet. But underneath the quiet, he could feel something. Not a sound. Not a voice. More like a weight. Warm and heavy and full. Like a room inside him that had not been there this morning. Now full of furniture he had not put there himself. Dates, names, locations, decisions. Faces of people he had never met making choices that would echo forward for 50 years. All of it sitting inside him, waiting. He stopped at a gas station 2 hours from the city. He sat in his car in the parking lot, engine off, hands in his lap. He looked at the ordinary people going in and out of the ordinary building buying ordinary things. He thought about what Dr. Park said. In you. Not in a machine. Not in a file that can be deleted. In you. He thought about Vael's face in the entrance of the ship. One move lost in a very long game. He thought about his future self, old and tired and afraid, sitting in a chair in that room and recording a warning across 200 years because there was no other way to make sure the right person heard it in time. He thought about what kind of man that older Marcus had become. Then he thought about what kind of man this Marcus, new right now, was going to choose to be. He turned his phone back on. 147 missed calls, all unknown number. He opened his notes app, and he began to write every name, every date, every location, every face, every decision, pouring out of him like water from a broken dam, fast and clear and unstoppable, exactly as the future people designed it to be. Not locked in a device, not stored in a ship, not hidden in a desert, not alive, inside a regular man, with a hole in his left shoe, who almost did not come. He wrote for 3 hours without stopping. When he finished, he looked at what he had. Pages and pages of a story the world did not know yet. He looked up through the windshield at the ordinary sky above the ordinary gas station. Then he started the car and drove toward the city, toward everything that came next. The ship was gone by morning. The desert where it stood was flat and empty, like nothing had ever been there. Vael was gone. The unknown number stopped calling, and Marcus Cole, desk job, cold coffee, hole in his left shoe, drove into a city that had no idea what he was carrying inside him, or what he was about to do with it.